1. My paternal grandparents own a custom frame store that also sells giftware, jewelry, and needlework supplies. At this time, their store was quite large. I'll explain a bit about the layout to help the story. There was the front and back separated by a wall with a door. Both were huge rooms. In the front was of course all the merchandise, and the back was where my grandfather did the framing. In the front there was a giant counter, the middle had the till, and on each side were huge counters where customers would pick stuff up for their pictures. It was spacious behind that counter. On to the story. My daughter was maybe a month old when my grandmother called me asking if I would be able to help her for a day. She had a craft show she was going to and needed to pack a bunch of giftware, but she was being dragged away by errands that had popped up. She already had everything set aside on one of the side counters. All I had to do was pick them up safe. I wouldn't have to deal with any customers or store stuff, just packing giftware. No heavy lifting, and I could bring my daughter. Of course I say yes, since I love helping at the store. I want to note here, I don't get paid to do this, I do it because I want to help. The next morning, I get to the store and my grandma shows me everything she needs packed and takes off to her errands. I begin packing while my daughter sleeps in her playpen off to the side of the counter with the giftware. A couple hours later, an elder Karen comes in and begins to look around. I keep an eye on her. A lot of elderly ladies steal. But don't notify my grandfather right away in the back because sometimes people look and go. This one unfortunately did not, instead came to the counter.
Hello, is Catherine, my grandma, here?
No, unfortunately she's out of the store at the moment. However, Kevin, my grandfather, is in the back. I can go get him for you. She looks annoyed and nods. I go to the back and let my grandfather know there is a customer. He comes out and I go back to packing. A few minutes after, my daughter starts fussing. I changed her recently, and I knew that cry. She was hungry. I quickly grab a bottle from my little black cooler, pop it in her mouth, and off to sleep she goes while drinking. She was crying for maybe 30 seconds. I gave her a little cheek rub and go back to packing. This is when Karen became Karen.
You know, you're really lucky that you have such nice bosses that allow you to bring your child to work. Though you and I both know that she should be in daycare and you should be focusing on your job. Your baby is a distraction to your work. You couldn't even help me without getting someone else to do it.
Oh, I don't actually work here. I'm just helping with the wrapping giftware for the craft show. My grandparents own the store. Kevin is my grandfather, and Catherine is my grandma. I'm the granddaughter, and this is their great-granddaughter. Karen then looks to my grandfather in disbelief, which I get because he immigrated from Hong Kong, married my grandma, and adopted my dad, who are both white as hell. My grandfather then looks back at me with a look of, you know, I hate dealing with these people. All I could do was shrug like, sorry, not my fault, Grandma didn't warn us about this one. Then, because the silence was getting awkward, I blurted, yeah, my grandmother, Catherine, was super excited when she found out I would be bringing her today.
Oh.
She then goes back to her transaction with my grandfather. I think she was picking up something on hold and then leaves. My grandfather shakes his head and goes back to framing. I finished packing. I later told my grandma what happened and she laughed. 2. I work for a third-party logistics company, nothing too fancy. An example of what we do is one of our clients is a local chain, leaving it ambiguous for privacy reasons, that hires us to fulfill their online needs. Every so often we receive more orders than we have the inventory to fulfill. When this happens, I'll usually volunteer to go to one of the actual stores and pick up the merchandise we need to get us through until the next restock. I've been mistaken for an employee there dozens if not hundreds of times by this point, and I don't even blame the customers. I'm often seen carrying around merchandise, I'm often wearing a safety vest, and by this point, I know my way around the stores better than a lot of the actual employees. Most of the time, I just help the customer because it's usually an easy problem, and I try to be a nice person. That's a lie. I'm actually just horrible at saying no. But I'd never actually met a Karen until this incident. Also worth noting is that since I'm not actually an employee of the store, I'm not allowed into the back for any reason. The story. Someone in China ordered 200 American flag coffee mugs for some reason, so I'm visiting my friends to get the merchandise so we can fill this order. The manager spots me before I can even make it through the door and hides behind a corner to spook me. Normal Tuesday so far. They go to the back to get the coffee mugs for me, and I just start browsing the t-shirts because it'll take 2 minutes to get the mugs. That's when the lady approaches.
Excuse me, can you show me where the blue t-shirts are?
I thought this was a little weird since I was wearing a blue t-shirt and shorts while the store employees all wore red polos. But she seemed nice so far, and I actually did know where the shirts were, since I had bought one for myself here not too long ago. Yeah, they're right over here, I can show you. Thank you. I lead her literally 20 feet over to a massive display with a mannequin wearing the shirt and everything. There you go, and I start walking away.
Ugh, I already knew about these. You're out of larges. Go get me one and be quick about it. I'm in a hurry.
Confusion as to why she'd ask where the blue shirts were without mentioning she knew about these hit me before recognition of the suddenly disrespectful tone did. Oh, I'm sorry, you'll need to find an employee to go to the back to check to see if they have more.
Yeah, go do it.
Oh, I don't actually work here.
You're wearing your work shirt.
I looked down and sure enough, I am indeed. The shirt I had bought here earlier, and she wanted in her size now. To be clear, it's definitely not a work shirt, but it is the same brand as the store with a big logo on the front. Congrats to anyone who saw this plot twist coming. At this point, I'm more understanding as to why she thought I was an employee, and was about to offer to go find an employee for her, when I realized she hadn't stopped talking. I didn't catch most of her speech, but this is when I returned my attention to her.
Millennials are so fucking stupid. I told you I'm in a hurry, so fucking get me a shirt so I can fucking go already.
Ma'am, I'm not an employee,
Fuck you!
And she grabs me by my ponytail and tries to lift my shirt over my head. I guess she wanted my shirt now? For the record, I'm clearly not a large, but I guess she wasn't thinking enough for that to make sense. By this point, my shirt is completely over my head, and I'm just twisting, trying to get it back down before my bra is displayed to the whole world, and my hand hits something. She stops trying to rip my shirt off, and I immediately pull it back down to see her sitting on the ground holding her face. We stare at each other for a few seconds, both obviously in shock at what just happened, before she stands up and just storms out of the store. An employee I'm pretty good friends with comes over and asks what just happened, and I just had to say I had no fucking idea. Eventually, the manager gets back and we go watch the security camera. Turns out I'd nailed her right in the cheek with a closed fist. He asked me if I was alright, and I just laughed it off, saying I was probably better than she was. I never actually saw that lady again. I'm half hoping she tries to press charges or something so the story gets even better. I am going to file a police report today, the day after I posted the original story. I have no intention of getting her arrested or anything. I think that would be a massive overkill considering I'm perfectly fine. But just in case she comes after me or does something like this again, it's better to have it on record. 3. For some reason, I, 21 female. I've always been confused to work at places wherever I go since I was like 12. Be it at supermarkets, malls, or parks, someone always comes to me thinking I work there. This particular day, everywhere I went, people came up thinking I worked there. I work at the famous Green Apron coffee shop. Even though there isn't a set uniform, our dress code is typically a black shirt and some jeans. I just got off a 5 to 2 shift and was dead tired and annoyed with customer interactions I had. Although all I wanted to do was go home and sleep, I had errands to run and planned to do shopping with my family. My first stop was to go grocery shopping with my mom, as we were planning a family dinner for the weekend. I'm the shopper that goes to get what they want or need, while my mom is more of a browse shopper. So I was going back and forth from the cart to the different aisles to speed up the shopping process, while my mom was browsing. I don't know where everything is at the supermarket, but I can read the signs and go from there. Since I kept coming back to my mom and dropping things off in our cart, this old lady that kept looking at me assumed I worked there. I would have helped her any other day, but I didn't want to talk to anyone other than my mom, and I had my headphones on. As I was talking to my mom, the old lady asks me where something is. The interaction was in Spanish, so not everything could be translated word for word. "Girl, do you know where this item—" I can't remember what she asked for, is. I just quickly turned to her, "I'm sorry I don't work here," and continued speaking with my mom and asking what else she needed. I can't really blame the lady for thinking I worked there, given how I was asking my mom what she needed, but I wasn't wearing the green shirt and black apron the employees wear, and I had my headphones on. However, this lady was set on having me help her. I noticed the old lady watching me ever since, and my mom went inside the spices aisle so I was able to see who was with her shopping. Since I didn't help her, the old lady sends her grown daughter to ask me a question. Once again I say, sorry, don't work here. I didn't process that they were a family yet until they sent their toddler and granddaughter to me.
Excuse me, do you know where this is?
I was getting quickly annoyed by this family, not taking a hint, but I wasn't about to snap at the poor girl. Again I say, sorry sweetie, but I don't work here. Please tell your family to stop bothering me. And turned to my mom, begging her to finish with her shopping. My mom looked at me disapprovingly for not helping this family. Before I can refute, I feel myself grabbed by the shoulder and turned. This man I have never seen before angrily shouts at me.
Why are you only helping this woman and refusing to help my family? They even sent my 5-year-old daughter and you wouldn't help her.
Even though all I wanted to do was scream and punch this guy for grabbing me roughly, I put on my customer service persona to defuse the situation. Sir, I'm sorry that your family has confused me for someone who works here, but if you look for someone with a black apron, I'm sure they'll be glad to help you out. I'm shopping here with my mother and helping her out. Maybe if you do the same, your family wouldn't have asked me. Have a great day. And I forcibly grabbed my mother and the cart and walked fast out of that aisle. I was shaking in anger and anxiety. The family, probably, finally accepted that I didn't work there because I didn't see them again while we were in line. While on the car ride back, my mom told me that the man wouldn't have screamed at me if I only helped the old lady. I looked at my mom in disbelief, but chose to ignore her and not say anything. Putting that interaction behind me, I went to a mall with my twin brother and sister, still wearing my black shirt and having headphones on. I went about shopping. We went inside the Disney store to buy a present for our niece. I was already done and paid for my present, so I was just looking around while my siblings were still deciding what to get. From the corner of my eye, I see this mom walking towards me, flagging me for my attention. I just look at her blankly, and then she registered I didn't work there. A simple sorry would have been fine, but she just had to put the blame of mistaking me for an employee on me.
It's just that you're wearing a black shirt. Maybe don't wear that so you don't confuse people.
I just shrugged my shoulders and said I don't care, moving to different stores and buying things I wanted. I was the first one done with my shopping, so I asked my sister for the car keys so I can drop off my things. Looking for the entrance we came from, I was walking everywhere around this department store. This department store uniform is black pants and a black shirt. Mind you, I have headphones on and I'm carrying multiple bags. I'm walking towards the entrance where I think we parked. Two ladies were walking the opposite direction towards me, one in a wheelchair, the other pushing her. The one in the wheelchair snaps her fingers at me and starts to talk, but the one pushing her says something along the lines of, "Leave her alone, she doesn't work here." The one in the wheelchair then rudely questions,
"Why would she be wearing a black shirt if she doesn't work here? She needs to do her job, she's wearing a black shirt."
Should I have ignored her comment and went my merry way? Absolutely. Did I say things and act a bit too far? Probably. But I was so tired and fed up having these people speak to me so rudely and blame me for things I have no control over. I was off the clock and still had people screaming at me just because they thought I was a worker. I snapped at this lady. So I bent down to be at this lady's height. "What am I supposed to wear then? I can't fucking wear a black shirt now because you're too dense to see I don't work here. I got headphones on, carrying different bags from other stores. You know what? You look like you work here. You're wearing a black shirt, and you don't know where things are. Call your manager over here. You're a terrible employee." The lady just looks at me, gaping at me and stuttering. The other lady pushing her just looks down in embarrassment and mumbles an apology and rolls the woman away quickly. I just stand there taking deep breaths to calm myself down. Eventually I find the car and just wait for my siblings to come back. I haven't worn a black shirt since then, aside when I work. But I still get confused as an employee. I guess I just have the look of an employee everywhere I go. 4. Warning, this story involves titties and stabbing. Don't listen if you, like me, are against both or either of these things. So today I was in the fitting room at the department store I work at, clearing up after a customer I had just finished helping. I was hanging up a pair of trousers using one of those hangers with the spring-loaded clips, and a piece of metal pinged off of it, smacked into my name badge, and somehow caused the pin to come undone. I didn't realize anything was wrong right away, because the badge didn't fall off, for reasons that will become clear very soon. So I just went on with my work. Then my service leader had come over to tell me that my previous customer had given some really glowing feedback about me, which was nice. but I couldn't enjoy it because it was at this moment that I became aware of a dull pain deep inside my boob and realized what had happened. I excused myself, mumbling something along the lines of, "I've stabbed myself in the boob," and got myself into a stall in the bathroom to clean up. The pin is decently girthy and about 1.5 inches long, and the whole thing was buried in my titty right above the areola. And it didn't want to come out at all. I didn't want to call a first aider because, well, it's my titty, and I had to grit my teeth and yank it out, massively misjudging the direction of the stab, and so tearing my skin a fair amount. Then I took off my top and binder. I have no idea how the pointy little fucker got through my binder in the first place, but here we are to inspect the damage. My top was a bodysuit, so I had taken my trousers down a bit too. This isn't really relevant, but it kind of adds to the ridiculousness of the whole scene. There was barely any blood, but I'm really squeamish about needles, and of course, it was about at this point, when I was basically naked, that I began feeling faint and nauseous. One of my managers happened to be using the stall next to me at the exact moment that I started to make god-awful retching sounds. Really sounded 10 times worse than it actually was, and she ended up calling the first aider, who was another one of my managers. And I ended up having to explain the whole situation to her through the stall door while mostly nude, all the while petrified that she'd feel justified in kicking the door down to rescue me. I then had to describe the events to her over again, once I'd cleaned myself up so she could write it on an incident report. The injury site was listed as breast/nipple area. Cool, great, amazing. For the whole rest of the day, I had a horrid throbby needle pin in my boob, and that's probably just because I was wearing a binder, and its compressing powers had no mercy for my tender titty. I ended up getting another really positive review later that day, and my service leader took me to my line manager, yes, a third manager, I work at a giant department store, to make sure my perseverance in the face of titty trauma was properly recognized. My workplace is actually really supportive and cool. I wish they didn't make me wear this stupid name badge, though. It now has a little nick in it where the metal ricocheted off it. And I just know that every time I look at it, I'll be reminded of the stupidest workplace injury I ever sustained. There's probably some deep symbolism in here surrounding the two things I hate most about myself. My name and my titties conspiring to injure me, but my dumb non-binary ass cannot be bothered. I'm also pretty new to this job, and I'm now concerned that I will become known as the idiot who got stabbed in the boob and kept working. 5. A couple years ago, I was working for a theme park as a live entertainment support tech. As you can tell by my username, Spotlight Desire, I'm a lighting stagehand by trade. This particular story takes place on my second day of work, after returning from a 4-year hiatus. We were all working hard to get the summer show up on its feet, and ready for tech in a couple weeks, so we took a longer lunch break than normal, low-level staff like myself and our department supervisors, at a pizza place across the street. Now, the way we dressed for this position was fairly distinctive amongst our staff, but I guess less so when you leave the park. We wear show blacks, all black clothing, down to socks and undershirt. Some sticklers even insist you wear black underwear. The black shirts, button-up work shirts we had, as well as the ball caps several of us were wearing, had the name of the theme park and entertainment in silver in a less than missable font. On top of which we had name tags with the company logo and our tool belts on our hips. The pizza place, however, had shorter-sleeved black polos for managers or t-shirts, though a similar black theme, they were not all alike. Anyway, so I'm making my way through the buffet, grabbing pizza and some salad when I hear it, the impatient shriek of, "Excuse me!" I'm focused on my lunch as we are still on a time crunch after all. Naturally, I assumed this woman just wanted me to step aside, so I politely moved. I heard a distinct huff, then felt a not-too-gentle tap on my shoulder. I turned around confused. "Finally, I've managed to get someone's attention. All these tables are filthy, and I want you to clean one for me." I blinked for a moment, about to utter the words you all expect. I got as far as "I don't." "I know you're on your lunch break, but you can stuff your face in a while. You have a paying customer here with no place to sit. Am I just supposed to eat standing like an animal?" She actually said that. I point to the logo on my work shirt. She doesn't even look. But nonetheless, I say, "Sorry, I can't clean your table for you. There's always someone at the register. Maybe they can..." "You're right here, right now. Why should I have to wait for someone else to do your job?" At this point, I just sigh and begin to walk off. Karen shrieks,
I want to talk to your manager.
As it so happens, guess who was sitting at the table with our staff? Suddenly, I get an idea that probably belongs on malicious compliance. I flag my manager over. Hey, Spotlight, what's going on? This woman said she wanted to speak to my manager. Why would...
This lazy sack of shit isn't doing her job. I want you to tell her to clean me a table now.
Spotlight doesn't work for the pizza place. Neither do I.
What the fuck is wrong with people these days? No one ever gives good service anymore.
My manager, seeing what I'd just been putting up with, went off on the Karen. She didn't yell. She was very controlled to the point it was scary. I wish I could remember exactly what she said, but I had wandered out of earshot after she told me to take my food and sit down. All I know is Karen finally seemed to get the message. Here's the best part. I don't know exactly why, but Karen left, without ever eating a single slice of pizza she paid for. My manager ended up giving me some cash to cover my lunch after all the crap. So, thanks, Karen, I guess. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Adventures in Fast Food and Retail, episode 137. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. If you enjoyed the video, then please do like and subscribe, and possibly leave a comment. Thank you very much to everybody for joining me on the Hellfreezer birthday stream last night. Not as long as usual, but I'm still not feeling myself. I appreciate all the birthday wishes, however, and, well, I'm going to wrap this video up and then just do nothing the rest of the day. Probably watch films. I did watch a horror film last night. Can't remember what it was called. Vicious Fun, was that it? Wasn't bad. Kind of an interesting thing about a serial killer self-help group. Pretty decent overall, actually. Okay, and with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.